Hey, what's up everybody? In this crash course tutorial for Shadows of Esteren by Studio Agate, I'm going to go over clerical magic of the temple and exaltation points. Let's get into it.
Cybernation Uncensored.
All right, so let me first explain something here as these awesome images kind of scroll through. I'm doing a deep dive. It might already be posted by the time that this video goes live, but I'm doing a deep dive on the different levels of the temple and clerical magic and all that stuff, where I'll go over origin stories, concepts, some of the more narrative and conceptual ideas behind being of the temple and using clerical magic. In this video, I'm covering the basic crunch and mechanics of performing miracles, which is very much similar to Demorthins, using their ogamic stones to basically, cast their magic or whatever, their sort of druid-like magic. So, that being said, I do want to suggest that a couple things here. Well, a few things. Watch the character creation video so you get a better understanding of some of the details of stats, ways, domains, disciplines, and watch the Demorthin crash course and the deep dive. But the crash course, because of the fact that when you're using clerical magic, it works very much the same as using Demorthin magic. The same charts and stuff. It's very much mirrored. So watch those videos before you get into this. And then the other thing I'm going to ask is please give this video a like, leave a comment, subscribe. Let's get more attention to this awesome game that Studio Agate has put out. I could really use your help. But yeah, let's get into it here. First off, exaltation points. They work very much like your Sigil Ran and your Rindas points. You're basically using your miracle discipline, which you have to at least get up to the discipline of miracle under your prayer domain. And that's very much mirrored like the Demorthin using Sigil Ran, and using Rindas points are very much like exaltation points, which is, I think, calculated 3 times your conviction ways. Equates to your how many exaltation points you have, and you can recuperate those with the advancement and experience points and stuff like that, which I go over in that crash course. So watch that too if you're interested. But ultimately, you use those points to cast miracles, and there's a whole chart to look at in that. But before we get into that, let's go over basically the 6 orders of the temple. So if you end up being of the temple and wanting to use clerical magic, you have six different orders to choose from in going in. And keep in mind, none of these are set in stone by definition. It does give some examples and defines it in the book, but it also explains how from village to town to city, to kingdom to dukedom, all these different orders might hold different responsibilities and definitions based on that location and what's needed and background and all that. So you can absolutely make any of these your own. But for the sake of this video, let's go over these basics here. So an adept or a hierophant, those are kind of almost unattainable. Hierophant being like the obvious, ruler of the church, almost pope-like, if you will. An adept is kind of like an assistant, just joining the order of the church, of the temple, as it's called, serving the one true God. But beyond that initiate or initial stage of being an adept, you have these 6 orders to choose from, which are priests, Sigirs, and again, not trying to get hung up on pronunciations, as the book explains. Don't worry about that, make it your own, but however you want to pronounce that, and then the blades, the vectors, the clerics, and the monks. And like I said, the book describes each one of these and gives you kind of examples and suggestions of how these different orders might play out for your character. But first thing is, you kind of choose that, and there's something to be known that each one of these, aside from description, goes into major and minor miracles, because there's basically 12 main miracles that you choose from when casting your miracles. And depending on which order you choose from, you might have some listed under major or minor miracles, in which case it gives you access to different levels of power. If you checked out the Demorthin video crash course, you know that there's different circles of power when kind of casting that magic. Well, in this case, you have different stanzas of power, and you get access to different stanzas of power based on which order you choose, and it lays that out. And you can see some of the 12 miracles here, like Canticle, Castigation, Circle of Protection, Divine Cold, Divine Wrath. It goes on. There's 12 of them, and like I said, some are major, some are minor, and that lets you know which level of stanza you have access to which miracles, and it kind of defines it right there. Let's get into that miracle summoning chart. Like I said, you're going to be pulling from your prayer domain. You have to at least have a 1 in the discipline of miracle to be casting miracles using this clerical magic. And you see this chart is very much like the Demorthin chart, in which case instead of circles you have stanzas there. You have different difficulty thresholds that you're trying to match or beat using your miracle discipline, and then you gauge which level of stanza based on numerous factors here: your target scale, persistency, bonus damage, and you always take the highest one if you're trying to lead the most amount of damage to the less target, or more targets, least damage. You always go to the higher ranking stanza that falls within one of those factors. And then you have the exaltation cost. Like I said, you're reducing those points every time that you're calling upon a miracle. You have summoning time. Again, this is very much like Demorthin. You can see it's kind of self-explanatory there in the chart. And it works in the same way that if you get a critical success or a critical fail, there's different things that come into play, whether you can kind of pull from a higher stanza or not, or you just succeed, you use up your exaltation costs, or maybe you don't. So check out those details, because all that sort of critical success and fail does affect that. But there's the basic chart of casting those clerical magic and miracles. Now, just like the Demorthin, you can also resist these powers or miracles. So if someone's kind of pulling a miracle at you, or at an NPC as a game leader that you're contesting, or as a player you're contesting a miracle coming at you, you basically find your difficulty threshold based on the power circle, or in the case of the temple, stanza. Remembering that power circle, Demorthin power stanzas for clerical magic. And that just gives you your difficulty threshold to resist those miracles. The next thing I want to go over is recovering exaltation. Like I said, you can kind of increase that and recover based on experience points and work with that. I go over that in an advancement and experience crash course. But you can see here, just like recovering Rindas for Demorthins, it works for miracles and recovering exaltation. It just depends on where you're going to go and pray. Meditation for Demorthins, prayer for clerics or being of the temple. Like I said, there's those 6 different orders, so it's kind of difficult to just narrow it down. That's why I keep saying of the temple, or of the one true God, because I don't know where you're falling within those 6 orders, but you get the idea. And again, you have your different difficulty thresholds depending on if you're actually in a temple, in a town, in a village by a religious relic, things like that. So you can kind of gauge your difficulty threshold based on those details when it comes to recovering those exaltation points. The other thing I want to mention here is fervor, because you can recover exaltation points by promoting the faith in the one true God and carrying out acts in favor of the temple. And you see here it gives some examples. Let's see here, like converting populations, having a new place of prayer built, recovering lost holy relics, etc. Yeah, and you see if they're minor actions, significant actions, or major actions. You get back different levels of exaltation points in the form of 5, 10, 30, and you can obviously adjust that based on the gameplay, the campaign, how the player is role-playing their character. You know, game leaders make this your own, but obviously role-playing out your character in favor of the one true God can get you back exaltation points as well. And that comes to showing faith. I mentioned kind of showing your faith and loyalty to the one true God and getting back exaltation points, but it's also kind of your job as being of the temple. You need to show faith. It says the elect must faultlessly abide by the principles of the temple, mainly through a strict application of the 6 ordinances. And you'll see here the 6 ordinances, and this really comes into the role play of your character, because obviously there's no roles and things you have to do to beat thresholds and stuff. You just want to role play that character, if you're of the temple, to follow these ordinances, because that's what you would do, right? So let's go over that. You shall follow the path of the one God only. You shall heed the sacred words of the Creator. You shall impart the truth to any person you meet. You shall master your passions and be moderate in everything. You shall be humble and thank the Creator for the gifts you are granted. You shall show your faith through prayer and self-reflection for the glory of the one God. And keeping in mind that, you know, if you go against these things, you can get punished. You know, the temple, the church, your Hierophant, or whoever's in charge, whoever's above you in ranking or in order, per se, of your particular temple or church, they're going to punish you. They're going to require things of you. They might, you know, depending on the level of offense, who knows what could happen, but it does give you some examples here of offenses. Let's go over that. Because I think this is kind of fun. You have minor offense, significant offense, and major offense, in which case, you know, the loss of 5, 10, or even up to 30 exaltation points. And then it goes into some details of that. And as a game leader, have some fun with that. Just think of how brutal Tree Kazel is, and being in Shadows of Esteren. Yeah, I would definitely have fun with that as a game leader, in the sense of like, yeah, let's get rid of those exaltation, but let's make a public spectacle of you, maybe a little bit of torture or something else. I don't know, but I feel like it opens the doors for even more intense moments, and just to really express how brutal Shadows of Esteren is. So have fun with that. All right, well, there you go. That's basically covering, being of the temple, using clerical magic and exaltation points. I hope it was helpful. Like I asked at the beginning, I'm going to ask again. Please give this video a like, give me a share, leave a comment. Let me know what you think of all these Crash Course videos, as well as I'd be curious to know which is your favorite profession. I've been going over a few here. I've got a few more to go over, and some deep dives with some of these professions that I'm looking forward to, like occultism and being a Varigal. I'd be curious to know what you like and dislike about these different professions, and what's your favorite. But yeah, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Cyberpunk Uncensored.